With the title, In Service of Knowledge, Compassion, Education, and Transformation, please welcome Chris Ray Alexander.
To start with a quick cultural exchange, as I work with young people and was thinking about the value of the heart in education, I recalled something which, as a young person during Christmas, I saw frequently, which is a brief animation from the film The Grinch, the original version. And so if you're familiar with it, in this film, a being of uncertain origin called the Grinch steals all the presents from the children of a town during Christmas, only to subsequently repent and have a change of heart. So just a quick clip for you. Okay.
What happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found the strength of 10 Grinches, plus 2.
Okay, so what do we learn from this brief video? Well, the question that motivated this paper in the first place was skepticism that I had about the way that I found the word service to be understood in my own educational environment, wherein a linear logic, a logic of production, seemed to carry the day, and we thought of service as something that comes at the end of education, or as a show of education, or as an enhancement for our CV, but not as something that spoke to and, inshallah, educates our hearts. And so it's in asking this question, can service be otherwise, which could also be phrased as, what is Hizmet, that I've present this paper to you. So a survey of historical and pedagogical responses to the question of why service reveals a variety of answers. I seem to be lagging a little bit here. We'll see which slide we end up on. Echoing the now pervasive calls to move beyond the classroom to real-world experience, pedagogical luminaries like John Dewey and modern educational theorists like David Kolb have both argued that service helps to deepen conceptual understanding by promoting critical thinking and giving learners the opportunity to connect theory to practice. At the same time, in a move that bespeaks the discord and divisiveness of our current moment, recent scholars like Xu Honglin and Richard Battistoni instead emphasize how service learning builds democratic habits, encourages civic participation, and can develop a sense of ethical responsibility. Now, this element of ethical formation also connects these thinkers with other strands of service learning discourse. So, for example, Janet Eiler and Dwight E. Giles insist that service learning promotes an ethical awareness that facilitates an individual's development of empathy, character, and virtue. And this on the individual level, I should emphasize that. While Paulo Freire's critical pedagogy instead emphasizes a deeply communal focus, which recognizes oppression, which looks to empower the marginalized and fundamentally transform the world by overcoming systemic injustice. So the question is, what formulation of service would allow one to wed the individual and the communal? So alongside their erstwhile convergences, the aforementioned paradigms also evince substantial differences. And in light of those differences, we should ask, which of them might yield an understanding of service capable of resisting reduction to the linear logic of production that I mentioned earlier? Said otherwise, is it possible to conceive of a bidirectional or even cyclical mode of service that equitably affects a transformation of the individual and the world that they inhabit? Of course, to decouple these elements, to take the individual and the community in experience them in isolation, would risk confining the effects of service to the limiting and easily manipulable domains of academic achievement, retention, and motivation, terms that I hear all the time. It might also preclude the possibility of an integral transformation of the student alongside their community and our shared world. And so, in order to try to provide an alternative model in this paper, I've appealed to the thinking of Hoca Efendi Fethullah Gulen alongside another one of my heroes. It's great when we have two heroes, Raymond Panikkar. Especially apropos a contribution granted that we're here in India today. So, taking slight liberties from Guru Ram Das, I would, in this moment, try to reformulate his original statement. It's all in your head. It's just that you don't know how big your head is. Here I would say, education, from this perspective, is all in your heart. You just don't know how big your heart is. So let's look at the heart. Now, in my own native language of English, we talk about the heart all the time. We take things to heart, we look into your heart, and then sometimes we have a broken heart, and when it's time to get to the end of your presentation, you get to the heart of the matter. And of course, this isn't unique to English. In the Chandogya Upanishad, we talk about Hridaya, the heart, being a locus where consciousness resides and where Atman may come to a realization of its true nature and at the same time perhaps even realize itself as Brahman. In the classical Chinese of the Confucian Analects, we talk about Shin as a space where cognition and emotion and intention and moral judgment are convened and integrated. And in the Kokin Wakashu Heian period poetic anthology from Japan, we see the same character, read as Kokoro, as a site of inner life wherein thought, feeling, sincerity, and character meet. And we could find similar resonances in the Greek kardia, so integral to the New Testament, or in contemporary German with the word Herz. So if we look in all of these places, we'll continue to find the heart. We might also find people who are not only speaking about the heart, but trying to find a way to inhabit it. And in this space, I'm thinking about Mundaka Upanishad, and specifically Hridaya Guha, or Meister Eckhart's Herzensraum. So, keeping these ideas in mind, I want to gesture towards the biblical lev as heart, and then our Arabic qalb as well. Spaces which the intellect populates, but is also a site for sincerity, a place of emotion, a place of transformation, and also a place for inhabitation. And so, keeping all these things in mind, we could say that the heart is capable of thinking and sensing and judging, surely, but it's also capable of housing and holding. So I would like to appeal to the thinking of a fellow Hizmet thinker. What a great honor to be able to say that sentence. Mehmet Yavuz Sheker, who notes how Hoca Efendi posits a fundamental distinction between a physical heart that belongs to the visible material world and an immaterial heart, a latifa rabbaniya ruhaniya, which he translates as a subtle, tenuous substance of an ethereal spiritual sort. Incorporating many of the aforementioned valences, Sheker also signals how Hoca Efendi augments Said Nursi's concept of wijdan. First, he defines the heart as the, quote, center of all emotions and intellectual and spiritual faculties, such as perception and consciousness, sensation, reasoning, and willpower. Then he underscores its constitutive functions and powers, namely shu'ur, or perception, idrak, or awareness, akl, or reason, and irada, or willpower. The resultant understanding of the heart has the depth and breadth necessary to make room for Hoca Efendi's no less ample conception of service, that of which it is capable, and the transformation that it can effect. So given Hoca Efendi's status as a mystic and spiritual teacher and scholar of religion, one might well be surprised to find, as I was, that the schools founded by the Hizmet Movement in advance are, in Ori Zoltas's words, offer curricula that are entirely secular. And that particular feature might initially seem to be a consequence of that movement's emergence in a social environment decisively shaped by the radical secularism of the Kemalist movement. But bearing in mind this definition of the heart that I was just attempting to gesture toward, I think we should be inclined toward another interpretation. Mirroring that expansive definition of the heart, Zoltis also says that the curricula extends well beyond whatever the governmental prescriptions require, providing well-balanced course offerings that wed tradition to modernity and interweave a focus on the intellect with an interest in the soul and a recognition of the importance of the body. Indeed, on my argument at least, Hoja Effendi's novel conception of the heart and its concomitant educative capacity decisively shape this pedagogical approach and the vision of service that emerges therein. Rather than being a mere outgrowth or auxiliary complement to educational attainment, the service envisioned within this pedagogy emerges from a process wherein soul, mind, body, and cosmos all meet under the divine tutelage of the heart. From Hoja Effendi's perspective, the heart is at once the generative locus of service and that which is transformed by serving. Think of the Grinch's heart. As such, the heart plays a dual role. It houses and deploys the perceptions, motives, and realizations that make, or fail to make, service possible, but it is also the object of that service inasmuch as service's proper end is to expand the heart in preparation for a wider embrace of humanity, of the world, and ultimately of the infinite transcendent divine. In this sense, making room in life for service also makes room in our hearts for the other and for the divine other. And yet, much like the beating of the physical heart, the motion of this making room is dynamic and multidirectional. It's a pedagogy for the heart modeled on the heart's own potential, and so it should be no less dynamic and multidirectional. Of course, the outward motion of expansion is essential to such a pedagogy. The student of life must venture forth to encounter other beings, enliven their own senses, embrace difficulty, enrich their understanding, and endure as their lofty ideals meet with the unforgiving friction of reality. But if education is reduced to expansion alone, we're back to that linear model. And so this is where I ask Panikkar to come in and resound with the work of Gülen as he insists that there is also contraction of the heart, a return to purification, a movement toward contemplation, a gaze that goes inward and which must not be divorced from expansion. For as he reminds us, if action is not rooted in contemplation, it degenerates into violence, even when it calls itself service. Now, if we want a pedagogy that changes the world, we'll need an equally lofty power to serve this lofty goal. And so in my interactions with Panikkar and with Fethullah Gülen, what I have attempted to sketch in this paper is an intensive regime of heart education, experimentation, and renovation, and one that connects with the divine connection capable of powering such a project. Indeed, as Panikkar argues, a reflection of the divine source that gives rise to such a transformation can already be glimpsed as soon as we take the first step toward the other. As he says, the first act of service is to recognize the other as a mystery, not as a problem to be solved. And so as I approach the conclusion, the other we embrace in service may open the doorway back to the contemplative realms of the heart wherein heaven and earth are reconnected and regenerated. The heartfelt service born of this heart education enacts the logical inverse of Hazrat Inayat Khan's insight that the heart of man is a temple. When its door is closed to man, it is also closed to God. The mirror play of mystery between the inscrutable depths of the other and the ineffable essence that supports and outstrips its own divine names, thinking of the Sheikh al-Akbar ibn Arabi, is itself another point of intersection between Panikkar and Hoja Effendi, as the latter insists that a heart educated thusly may become luminous, like so many windows opened onto the sun of truth. And so with this, flowing ever deeper through the transformative expansions and contractions of the heart that educates as it is educated, we are able to glimpse a reality emblematized by the maximal capaciousness of the heart that scholastic philosophers called capex Dei, a boundless reality affirmed in the Hadith Qudsi that instructs us, neither my earth nor my heaven could contain me, but the heart of my believing servant does contain me. The heart of service, a world-opening, world-surpassing heart, is found here, beyond the world of the classroom or the classroom of the world, in a rhythm that is not psychological, not merely biological, but ontological, for it belongs to the very structure of being. It is a shared heart, a heart to which we bear witness here, a heart of Hizmet.
Please join me in thanking Chris.